Hello, and welcome to the darkest timeline.
Film podcast.
Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to a very special edition of The Darkest Timeline, where we watch Daredevil, 2003, Ben Affleck.
Hey, man, they're not just our listeners. They are our... What are they again?
Our dad and a couple other people?
No, I mean the name. God, man. What we call them.
The
Oh, my God. Why did I expect anything else from you?
What I think is really funny is I guarantee you there are no to this podcast.
You can't guarantee that.
Yes. So now we'd like to do a bit of targeted advertising to our listenership that I know that's going to hit like 50%. So
If you haven't already started watching the second season of Daredevil or watched the first season of Daredevil on Netflix, stop listening to the podcast and go do that.
yes,
Or listen to this first for context
exactly.
or something. Just listen to this first, because you'll
Yeah.
forget about us after you watch Daredevil.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's jump into this. 2003 Daredevil.
Had a plot.
Did it though?
It did.
It did.
No,
it had
it
through lines. It had through lines, and it didn't really have character arcs, but it had a through line.
Tell
couple
me,
of them.
Tell me the plot.
Okay, specifically, we must say we watched the theatrical cut of Daredevil because it had less plot than the director's cut, and we needed that for this.
No, I lobbied hard for the theatrical cut because that was the cut the studios wanted us to see.
Yeah, it was the cut that made you dislike Ben Affleck as a person.
As a person, I mean, there was a personal level thing going on here. I did not like him. It's taken me better part of 15 years to forgive him.
So Daredevil, let's just go through this linearly because the movie tried to forego that.
It doesn't have a plot.
It doesn't have a
There's
plot.
an origin story that takes up 15 or 20 minutes in the front end,
Yeah.
which is pretty
And then-
much
okay. I guess it's a pile of coincidences masquerading as a plot.
That's true. There are a ton of those.
Matt Murdock, as a child, gets picked on because his dad's a failing boxer, and
Already failed.
And then he catches his dad working for a crime boss, and runs away like a pouty little kid. And due to some negligence on the part of some waste management workers, gets a bunch of chemicals in his eyes and can never see again.
To be fair, he was getting picked on when his dad was a failed boxer, but when his dad got his act together and became a really good boxer again, and he got blind, they still picked on him.
But for being a freak, that's what they said.
Yeah, okay. Fine. He got picked on either way. But luckily, with blindness, as blind people will know, comes superpowers. Which solely includes the heightening of your other senses, but cursory other inclusions, cat-like agility,
Sonar.
sonar.
That was just part of the,
that was part of the hearing,
heightened
I guess.
hearing. That's just how that works.
The ability to jump 50 feet
Vertically, practically.
easily.
Of course, really, practically everyone in a costume in this movie can do those things. It just has to do with putting on some sort of leather.
Within this world, it's the amount of leather you wear equates to how agile and strong you are.
And Daredevil is wearing leather everywhere except for his jawline. So, I mean, he can jump really high.
I'm pretty sure he could have caught that cane that was going to kill Mr. Nachos if he just covered his face with more leather.
Yeah.
Would have been quicker. So anyway, he grows up deciding that he should totally learn how to fight and and then his dad gets killed because he doesn't throw a fight, and he grows up with that. Dad, we don't really get into that because
It's sad.
And it skips over it completely.
It just skips over. By the way, I grew up and became a lawyer. So he's a lawyer, but not a very good lawyer. And so he solves his bad lawyer problems with violence later. And and there's rumors about him, and there's rumors about a kingpin, and then he meets a beautiful woman who turns out to be rich, and her father is becoming the scapegoat of the kingpin, and then he gets killed.
I would like to just focus in on a second on the fact that he is a bad lawyer. Because he is a bad lawyer.
He's a really bad lawyer.
The only trial we saw was one he lost, and he gets paid in fish. So
Well, I think that was for a different trial.
But in some ways, you kind of get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Well, they only take on clients that are innocent, and innocent people don't make money.
Yeah.
So,
And I also want to say that in the director's cut, they show there's like 25 more minutes dedicated to another court case, which he would not have won without his like special powers of knowing when people are lying or not. He's not a very good lawyer.
he really, really, really handicaps himself with like, I know when people are lying.
The blind person handicapped himself.
You know what? Maybe we should. I'm gonna
Pretty sure it
backtrack
was-
on that. He really, really gives himself a disadvantage. Like if he ever lost his ability to hear very well, like super well, literally super, then he would not be a good lawyer at all because he wouldn't be able to tell when people are lying, and that is his only gimmick as a lawyer.
And it doesn't even work as, you know.
Yeah, I mean, knowing people are lying, you're like, well, they're lying. I can't prove it. I guess I'll beat him up later as
Because
Daredevil.
I'm not a very good lawyer. So, Elektra's father is killed, and Elektra thinks Daredevil did it, and Bullseye's there, and he's the one that actually killed her father.
And he's Irish as
Bullseye wants to kill Daredevil because Daredevil made him miss, and Elektra comes after Daredevil, and she beats the shit out of Daredevil, and then she realizes that he didn't kill her father because she knows him.
Wait, no. She doesn't even like. She's like, I want to see the face of the man who killed my father, and he keeps going like, I didn't do it. And she takes the mask off, and it's Matt. And I guess suddenly she's like, I guess maybe you didn't kill him, but there's zero proof that you didn't kill him.
That's true. And then Bullseye shows up and kills Elektra, and beats the shit out of Matt.
AKA Daredevil.
Yeah, aka Daredevil.
And just Matt.
Just Matt.
Some guy named Matt.
It's Matt! Look at the rooftops!
He was the best part of the movie, man. Matt
Big
came
M
in.
on his chest. I am Matt.
Not even Matt Man, just Matt. And then he falls into a church.
Must be from L.A.
Shut up. And then he falls into a church and talks with the father there, and
By father, he means priest.
I mean priest. And then Daredevil. And then Bullseye comes in, and he doesn't want to kill the priest because he's a good Catholic boy. And then Daredevil beats the shit out of Bullseye in a very CGI organ fight. By organ, I mean the instrument. And throws him out a window.
At which point Bullseye is dead.
No.
Oh no, we didn't watch the after credits scene.
After credits scene, full body cast, and he kills a fly that was bothering him with a needle that was left near his fingers that are the only part of him that can move.
Yeah.
At this point, Bullseye is neutralized.
Yes.
Incredibly. And oh yeah, I totally forgot there was more movie after that.
There's
just now.
more movie.
He goes to the Kingpin, who is waiting for him, and
Who killed his dad?
and he gets the shit beaten out of him by the Kingpin.
He learned the Kingpin killed his dad in the end fight.
Yeah. There's a
Like,
whole lot of character points in this movie that are all just kind of shoved into the background. So he gets the shit kicked out of him by Kingpin, and then he gets a little courage from Kingpin talking to him about killing his dad. And then
That's what you need to. You need to do stuff good.
And so he bursts a bunch of pipes on the walls that make it feel like it's raining in there, which gives Daredevil sight and a second wind, and he beats the shit out of Kingpin
In like 10 seconds.
in like 15 seconds.
Fine. Breaks both his legs.
And doesn't kill him because who's gonna tell anybody that they were beaten up by a blind man?
I mean, you don't have to. I mean, from prison, he could just be like, and I want 37 assassins to go after this lawyer named Matt Murdock. No reason behind it. Just do that, please.
He's just a lawyer that pissed me off.
Right.
And that's the movie, in quotes.
Oh, and he at the very end, he's, monologuing about how Elektra was just saved me for, I don't know what the line was, but it was very corny and dumb. And he finds a little charm somewhere that has Braille on it, and it's something that Elektra said that would be cool for him to have. And only she would have been dead. And he's just like, I'll believe in anything now, or something like that, like looking off, like she must be alive.
All right, best parts of this movie.
Well, first off, I would like to say that I enjoy this movie to this day because it's just so stupid. It doesn't work as a whole.
No.
So
and actually, we only own in our movie collection is the director's cut, which is much better. So if you buy the movie, buy that.
But I have to say, Ian was a little bit too gung-ho about saying we only liked the director's cut of this movie, because I still like the regular one. It's just the director's one.
Good.
The director's one is better. But this is still a great stupid movie.
I disagree.
You don't think it's a stupid movie?
I think not only did it not work as a whole, none of the parts worked either.
Oh, you don't think Colin Farrell was good as his weird Irish bullseye?
No.
You didn't like that?
Is that your negative? Do you want to
Anyway,
start?
Well, what's your favorite part then?
All right. My favorite part was the cameo of Kevin Smith.
Oh, that was good. Yeah.
He was fun.
He was fun. He deserved to be in the movie. It was definitely a little tip of the hat to the fans of Daredevil, and I enjoyed that. I wanted to see more of him. I wanted to see more of Jennifer Garner. Just literally, not more screen time, just more of her. She was gorgeous.
That's because you're sexist. Didn't you learn anything from Sorority
I'm
Boys?
a heterosexual male, and 2003 was prime year for her. She looked great, and she knew Kung Fu, and that was cool.
Just like Keanu Reeves.
Right.
This movie also, speaking of Keanu Reeves, matrixed the out of its combat.
It did. This was in so 2003. We're talking about Matrix happened a couple years before that.
Yeah.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was also the same time, where wire combat was completely in vogue, and this movie took advantage of both of those things.
Also, Spider-Man had just revolutionized the superhero genre.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Spider-Man is one of the main reasons this movie doesn't work.
Go on.
Yeah, please explain that.
Because this movie, I've read somewhere.
You're pointing toward a window, and I'm just looking at it.
This is just a general motion.
Okay.
This movie, I read somewhere that there was a time when it was a dark, gritty movie, and then Spider-Man happened, and they were like, we need to make it more like that. And that's where you get all like the weird playground fight and all that is because they wanted to make it kind of fun like Spider-Man.
So favorite parts?
Oh, God. After seeing the movie, I have a ton of little nitpicks about bad things in the movie.
We'll get there.
I wasn't thinking enough about good things, and that's unfortunate.
Did you like Colin Farrell?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Colin Farrell was... Sorry. Yeah, I forgot about him. I didn't so much like Colin Farrell's portrayal or acting in the movie, but I liked how into his part he was. He was probably the only person in the movie that was 110% into their role. He was Bullseye, and he thought he was Bullseye. And people on set had to probably make him stop throwing at them constantly, and him just throwing and it hit him, and they'd be like, ow, and he'd be like, Bullseye. Just using crazy hand
he licks
motions.
his thumb and rubs the target on his head.
And spreads his arms out.
All weird while standing on his motorcycle. He was just so into being Bullseye.
I will give you that. He was committed to the role.
Oh, so way too much, probably.
With I dare say, Nicolas Cagean precision.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Yeah, but
that is what I like about it.
I would disagree, because the only conflict or reason Bullseye is upset is because
Daredevil, he made me miss.
Daredevil made him miss. Now, if that's not petty, I don't know what is.
Well, he seemed pretty petty. His whole thing is being able to hit stuff in the bullseye. I mean, you don't brand your own forehead if you're not certain of things.
How does this man function just...
He doesn't.
Did you see him on that plane?
No, yeah. He killed the lady next to him on the plane because
With a peanut.
I would have killed the lady next to him on the plane.
I mean, did you really not feel for his decision to murder that woman?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the only conflicts in the movie where I just really felt for the victim being Colin Farrell in this scene.
No, he was terrible. There was no reason for him to be in there. They didn't need him in there.
In where? In the movie?
In the movie,
I
just
was
in
gonna say
general.
in the plane. No.
Well, keep in mind, that woman in the plane, she was mildly racist, so...
That's true.
This movie is racist against Irish people. This movie is like Colin Farrell is a potato soaked in Guinness. Like he is so so over the top Irish that it's offensive.
What if that was his idea?
Then
Wait, is he Irish?
he's Irish.
He's Irish? Yeah. Okay, I just had to make
Yeah,
sure.
and I think he
before
was-
like, because if he was Welsh or something, then yeah, that'd be super racist. But no, if he's Irish, that's fine. Yeah.
No, if he's he was too Irish.
He's too Irish.
You know what? Go to Ireland and tell people they're being too Irish.
I've been to Ireland and they're medium Irish.
Medium Irish?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
What about
Go to New York, like where there's a bunch of Irish people,
Circa
and tell
17th
them,
century.
and tell them they're too Irish.
Yeah, all those cops down at the docks.
In every radio serial
Yeah.
in the 40s.
Boy,
The
you
cop
shouldn't be here
in-
this time of night.
Yeah, in radio serials in the 40s, I've listened to a lot because I have weird habits. Every single cop in whatever radio serial, if you're by the docks, it's like any cop in the city, they're like, oh, hey, whatever thing that I'm talking to in this radio serial. But if it's by the docks, like, oh boy, oh, by the docks. I'm like, why are the only Irish cops by the docks?
Noted.
Okay, I think it's my turn.
I really didn't need that tangent, and I'm sorry about it.
So you liked Bullseye. That was your...
No. I liked Colin Farrell's gusto.
Okay.
He got spunk.
No, he's like a Celtic cross made out of corned beef and cabbage.
Jeez,
I don't know, am I censoring
Maybe-
racial slurs now?
I mean, maybe you're racist. Oh, wait, no. I need to change what I just said there. You're racist. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
So my favorite part of the movie was more of a background thing, more of like an unsung hero of the movie, who I prefer to call Steve.
Steve?
Steve. Steve is Elektra's butler.
Okay.
Oh, right, Steve. I forgot.
Steve is never seen in the movie because a good butler is never seen or heard. They just do what is needed of them. And Steve set up an entire training course for Elektra, with sandbags falling on ropes at specific times. And you know he was just off camera with a series of complicated pulleys that he rigged up himself with his World War II experience at rigging pulleys and levers. I'm sure they did
He's
that.
old.
Yeah. And he's
Although
tough.
Pulleys and levers and sandbags, that might be a Civil War vet.
He was 180 years old or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's a good old boy.
What?
Whatever that means.
That
And
means he plays country music,
So Steve.
like the good old
Steve-
boys in Blues Brothers. Just saying. Got a handle on that anger.
So Steve is the hardest working actor in this movie to not be portrayed, even in the special edition with all the extra footage.
I like you know what? I think I have a theory. Steve
think you have a theory?
Yeah, I do.
Do
I
you?
think Steve is played by Tom Hanks. Because at the end, you see a little bit of a Castaway Wilson style hand painting on one of the sandbags to represent Daredevil.
That
That was
would
a very bad painting.
that would also explain how that Braille necklace was made for Matt, because Steve knew as a butler that is what Elektra wanted.
And you know how it was hanging there? It was counterbalanced by a rope.
By ropes and pulleys, of course.
pulley, yeah.
It needed to
There
be
was a
right.
huge set of ropes and pulleys just off screen.
Needed to be right at head level, so Daredevil would, just kind of reach right out for it.
Whoa, he
That-
was Matt at the time. He wasn't in the suit, man. Get it right.
That would explain a lot of Elektra's ability to fly. She was actually on a pulley system.
Because
know.
God knows the butler needs to be where the master is at all times.
Yeah.
Steve came early
In
to
fact,
all the
he's-
rooftops.
He is such a good butler that she thinks she can fly.
And she is not even aware that Steve himself exists. She wills something and it happens, and she thinks she has some sort of power over the universe.
God bless Steve.
Yeah. God
Real
bless
real
Steve.
saint.
It kind of makes me wonder if we all have a Steve, and without him, we'd just be miserable people. Like we're at our best right now because Steve is like setting us up for that. Without him, we'd just be in the gutter somewhere.
I suppose my Steve has quit then.
He's on a sabbatical. Just for the last few years.
You see, he didn't move to LA with me. I probably should have left a note where I was going.
Well,
Steve, if you're listening to this podcast, I
No.
live in LA now.
A good Steve would have figured it out. It would have been a
I guess I had a bad Steve.
a good Steve knows better than to listen to your podcast.
It would have been a homeward bound situation where the dogs and the cats find the master across country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except it's
Steve would have found me if he wanted to by now.
just a butler hitchhiking.
This bit got weird.
I'm all for it, man.
It's fine.
Steve,
it's
Steve
fine.
the Butler.
Steve the Butler's a real hero.
I wonder what other movies he's in.
He's in every movie.
Oh,
Just
man,
off
I
screen.
can't wait to see him
Except Freddy Got Fingered.
again. You can tell because that moment with the sausage, they're all hanging because that was all.
They were not all at the same height. That was not perfect hanging of pulleys for the sausage. If Steve had done it, there would be certain keys that would cause the ropes to actually lower because of the pulley system network.
No, it would have made sense. Not only that, if Freddy got fingered, if Freddy would have played a nice piece of music.
Also, they would have been sandbags with Daredevil's face on them.
All right, I say
know
we
what?
hit the eject button on this because it is
I have
weird.
got to say, you've mentioned Freddy Got Fingered too much, and I was just sitting here going into a little dark pit, remembering the movie.
Come on, we got a
I
therapy
was
dog. We're ready.
Frowning. Oh
Just,
man,
pull out of it. Pull out of it. You got
that was
to
rough. Oh man, Daredevil.
Goose, you're coming in too hot.
pull up.
Oh jeez, you've brought me to a dark place.
I'm sorry.
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
So speaking of dark place, worst bits.
Least favorite part of the movie. You're probably ready for this. What do you think?
Okay, there's something I said during the movie when the sun came out and we had to put up the blackout curtains. Not unlike Matt Murdock, we don't need to be able to see this movie to know it's bad. Which I guess is a slight at blind people, and I don't mean it to sound that way. It's more of a slight at the movie. But, I mean, I have a few things about this movie that I'm just, really not cool with. One, especially in the theatrical cut, I can't exactly remember how it went down the director's cut, but dude, when Daredevil was implicated in the murder of Elektra's father, and everyone thought he did it, and the papers were saying he did it, and then Elektra dies, and the papers probably said he did that, because, why wouldn't they? And then he throws Bullseye out of a church, and he's in no position to tell anyone anything about what's gone on. No one knows why he's there. And then he beats up the Kingpin. He tells the Kingpin after he beat him up that the police are coming for the Kingpin because the news about the Kingpin is out. That was never shown. Insofar as I'm aware, he did not have time to tell anyone about the Kingpin, and no one would believe him. And even if anyone did believe him about the Kingpin, there was zero evidence anywhere shown in the movie that would make people believe he didn't kill Elektra's father.
I can tell you, because I remember why the police were coming.
Why?
Because in the special edition, they actually go into that. Because God knows you don't need to tie up those plot threads in the theatrical version.
No, leave the people wanting more.
So I guess I'm gonna go a little bit outside of bounds here and talk about the director's cut a moment, just to tell you what they cut. The court case that Matt and Foggy are working on in the director's cut.
I think it's Foggy.
I thought it was Froggy.
Are you kidding me?
His name's not Froggy?
No!
It's Foggy.
What?
It's Foggy Nelson.
Foggy?
I
Whatever.
thought it was Froggy Nelson.
Foggy Nelson.
Who names their kid Froggy?
When
Kermit?
he's a comic book character. Froggy made total sense.
Good on you.
It doesn't, though.
Okay,
because
anyway.
it's not real.
But there's, I don't remember all the details about the case, but the defendant is Coolio. Obviously not playing Coolio, but playing somebody else. And he's been falsely accused of some crime, and Matt believes him.
Because he can tell
Because he can
he's
tell.
lying.
Doesn't have to. I mean, he believes him because he's telling the truth. Because he doesn't have to be a good lawyer to know that.
And
Because he's not a good lawyer. But they figure out through the course of the investigation that Mr. Frosted Tips himself, who is the Kingpin's right-hand man, is the guy that actually committed the crime, and when he is arrested, he flips on the Kingpin, and then the police come after him.
That would have made a lot more sense.
That would have made a ton of sense.
That would actually tie up some plot holes.
Yeah.
Like
So many
any
of them.
reason for Daredevil to not be implicated in murder. Because at the end of the theatrical cut, the police would still be 100% after Daredevil. And honestly, they should be anyway, since he did throw that dude in front of a train and get him cut in half.
And push the guy out the window.
Yeah, that too.
Crippled him, probably.
Yeah, but that one dude is dead.
Yeah, that one guy was cut in half.
Yeah. I mean, they took his body away on a very small stretcher.
There's a third person he killed too, right?
Two small stretchers.
Yeah.
Didn't he kill King? No.
No, he just
there's a
broke
third person.
Kingpin's knees.
I thought he killed the third person, but I can't think of the person.
He may have.
He beat the shit out of a lot of dudes in a bar. One of them's probably dead.
And some of them probably very innocent and upstanding citizens, because he was.
It was just a bar.
He took on the whole bar. If you were in that bar, you were his enemy.
Yeah, I mean, he was just like throwing at anyone moving. Like his goal was to make sure nothing in that bar was moving anymore. Because if that succeeded, then his goal has succeeded.
It's true.
The thing I had the largest problem with was the fact that the plot didn't chug along at a good pace. Like it didn't make sense that as far as a coherent storyline where I sat down, and not being a Daredevil fan before going to see the movie, I just felt like they were flinging a whole bunch of stuff at me and hoping some of it stuck.
Oh, yeah.
That bothered me. And that's just a big structural problem of this movie. It's not funny, but it's also just... It was frustrating to me, because at the end of the movie, I'm like, okay, that's the end of the movie.
But not the end of the series.
Right. What was accomplished? Why did they do that? It was frustrating. But I will say this, and I got to give this movie credit.
Now is not the time for credit. That was before.
Because I feel like this is... in 2003, when I saw this movie for the first time, I hated it. Like, I really hated it. It made me hate Daredevil. It made me hate Ben Affleck. It made me hate any movie that came out in February, which it did.
What?
And
Are you kidding me?
no,
Any movie that comes out in February, you
it's
have a
the
bad
worst.
taste in your
It's
mouth?
a bad taste. I go, maybe I don't want to see that.
Deadpool came out in February.
Let me finish. This time around, and maybe it's just because we've started doing this Darkest Timeline thing, I don't think it was that bad. It was a bad movie, but it was like a mediocre movie.
Yeah.
It was better than some movies we've seen and worse than others. Like, I think its spiritual twin is actually I, Frankenstein. I think that's about the level of bad this movie is.
I think it is less meh than I, Frankenstein.
But it was I Frankenstein was nothing. It was just kind of blah.
I, Frankenstein had no Colin Farrell.
Right.
Yes.
It's
Who
true.
was like 100% into his role. No one was 100% into their roles in that movie. It's
true.
Right, but I feel like the Frankenstein monster, played by Aaron Eckhart, and Ben Affleck's Daredevil,
Yeah.
similar performances.
Yeah. Yeah.
Similar performances, probably somewhat similar amounts of leather in their closets.
Yeah, I wonder if there's an acting school somewhere like in Hollywood that teaches you how to like mail it in.
Apparently, that would just be called acting school.
Yeah, I didn't like it just because it didn't make sense and I didn't feel like there's a satisfying. I wasn't rooting for anyone. It was just a bunch of people in CGI, and the worst part was definitely when Matt Nelson, blind lawyer, challenges Elektra Petronova Nacho.
Matt Murdock.
Matt Murdock. What did I say?
You said Matt Nelson.
Matt Nelson. Okay.
Nelson is the last name of his partner.
So, when Matt challenges Elektra to a fight on the playground,
Yeah.
Where 60 kids are watching.
where 60 kids are watching, he's obviously trying to play the blind thing. And she's also like, the worst line I think of the entire movie was, yes, from Elektra, my father made me practice with a new sensei every year since I was 5.
You're not going to give that to when they're fighting on the seesaws, and he's like, does every guy have to go through this to get your name? And she's like, you should try to get my number.
Yeah, that was bad.
That whole fight, though.
That
just
whole thing.
all throughout, like, before Daredevil shows up in the movie, Matt is not endeavoring to hide the fact that he has some sort of powers at all.
At all. In
He's
fact,
like, I'm doing mysterious things. I'm doing mysterious things. I'm doing mysterious things. I'm blind, but I should be able to do these things, but I am. And no one questions it, because that's just Matt.
Elektra questions it once. She's like, how'd you do all those things? And he's like, when you're blind.
Yeah.
And she never finds that suspicious. She's never like, you're clearly Daredevil.
She is so completely surprised when she unmasks him.
Although, in her defense, they're living in the Marvel universe, and weird stuff happens all the time in that universe. Freaking.
I suppose that's true. But in that particular universe, the only thing that happened was Daredevil.
Okay. Yeah, in that movie, there was no
Justice
crossover
League or anything like that.
League,
Well,
Avengers.
Avengers is the right universe you're looking for.
I know. Nerds.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, we're nerds.
Yeah, we're doing podcasts about
Movies.
15-year-old movies. That's fine.
But you know what? This is the only way I'll ever see any of these movies, so I'm totally okay with that. Well, not this movie. I own this movie, and we'll watch
right.
it again.
This movie, I think the worst part, the most weirdly nostalgic worst part was that crazy late 90s soundtrack.
Oh my god.
which reminded all of us that at one point in time Evanescence was popular.
Like, popular enough to be in the movie multiple times.
Yeah. Dave was singing along.
It was more of a mumbly humble.
You sang words.
Mumble.
You
I
sang
did.
words.
They were not the right words though.
No. There was a point when you were the second song that came on. They did. You said you knew that song.
Wake Me Up Inside.
Was that it?
That was like.
Yeah, I mean, I know that song. For God's
Wake
sake,
me
it was
up inside.
it was everywhere.
Yeah, fine.
Save me.
You were still singing along.
Okay, actually, to be fair, no is a bit of a stretch. I am familiar with that song.
Yeah. It's because it was popular for 6 months in like 2001 or 2002 or something.
Yeah.
And by the time they got into post-production, they were like, well, can't change out the song now. And the whole movie soundtrack is like that. It's songs that I probably haven't heard since this movie came out.
Because they were popular then.
Yeah,
Or like a few months before that.
yeah, it was probably on somebody's debut grunge album. And by debut, I mean only.
Exactly 18 months before emo became a thing.
Right.
The world
right.
was looking for a new sound,
So
and that
it's-
was not it.
Yeah. So you've got like a mix between like really soft vocal women's singing, and then like kind of hard and grungy dudes and like heavy guitars. It's weird, man.
Yeah, the soundtrack's all over the place.
It is. Yeah. Okay. So being the only person in the room, Dave, who has not yet seen Elektra, the sequel to this movie, what do you think that movie would be about? Having watched Elektra die in this movie.
And us having seen Elektra multiple times. I don't know why, But we've done it.
I've never liked that movie.
No.
I've always been disappointed.
Opening scene, Elektra, Hell's Kitchen. A hand pierces through a dumpster.
Dude, she was brought to the morgue. The police found her on top of a roof.
Remember that? They mentioned that. And, well, of course, out in New York, when you're done with a body, you throw it back in the dumpster.
Exactly. No, okay. Two orderlies sit chain smoking on the back of a hospital.
I'm almost. I
Dead
almost,
drop.
I want. I just. I need to,
It's called a dead drop. When
I
you're,
want to. I want to. I feel like I have to say this. Think further outside the box.
the year is 1986,
What?
and Elektra is 5 years old.
Rein me in.
Her dad she and her dad are standing outside a dojo, and she does not want to go in. Dad, I don't want to learn kung fu.
How long is this pitch going to be?
Oh, trust me, 95 minutes.
Oh, God.
We don't have time for that.
That's not a pitch.
I don't want to learn kung fu, she says. And her dad says, trust me, at some point in life, you're going to need to know this. You're going to need to know it so good. I've signed you up for 25 different senseis. Oh, Dad, can't I learn to play the flute instead? No. But I got you something, a gift. He hands her a box. She opens the box. Inside, chrome-covered sais.
Chrome.
Chrome, yeah.
Why not like polished steel?
There's definitely chrome in the movie. It's a callback to the movie we just watched.
How is chrome a callback?
There is then a montage of the next 20 years of her life, just getting whacked with bamboo canes, trying to jump over
The
like
first 5 years of the montage are really sad, just her getting the kicked out of her by
right.
various people.
But then towards the end, like she starts dodging the canes and
It's just always bamboo canes.
right. Meanwhile, for some reason, the sandbags are just jumping out of the air, just all over the place. She finds out she's got a guardian angel, Steve.
Guardian Butler.
Yes.
Well,
So
to be fair, he has this really weird.
There's nothing
angel
angelic about
wing-
the hell they go through.
Well, he also has these angel tattoo wings on his back, but that's from a real dark time early in his
right.
life. But we
he's
don't get
very
into
old.
that.
On his knuckles are written saint and the other sinner.
He has that many fingers on each hand.
Exactly. And turns out someone has stolen the.
Could you just not bring up a
Don't you even say the word. We went so long without saying that word.
Someone had to get it into this podcast.
It's going to be bleeped out.
There was a big, fat, sweaty.
Ugh.
Ew. Jeez.
And as it gyrated
What?
all over the Middle East,
What are you talking about?
Elektra alone could save the world from the sloppy.
You know what's ironic?
What was that?
I think you need to think further outside of the box.
The year 2222.
I think you've just gone exactly the other direction in number of years
I feel
away
like
from present.
Can I make a prediction?
Not 2022, 2222.
Okay, can I
Oh,
make a
shit.
prediction?
She's been cryogenically frozen.
I need to make a prediction here.
Okay.
I need to make a prediction, and this particular pitch is going to end with a very large but very dry.
Okay, I've got to say, judging from what you think the movie's going to be, you're going to lose your during this movie.
Oh yeah, so we should probably explain that we aren't going to decide what movie we're going to watch next because we know the next timeline movie we're going to watch is Mr. Woodcock, but then we had a thought that this season of Daredevil contains Daredevil, but also Elektra and the Punisher.
Much like the movie Daredevil had a flashback within a flash forward within a flashback within a flash forward. The Darkest Timeline is going to take a flash sideways.
Flash sideways. That's a different dimension.
I'm unsure. Are
Exactly.
these going to be like episode 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3, or special episodes 1, 2, and 3? I would go with that.
I can decide that later. It doesn't matter now. But the next movie we're going to watch is Elektra, and then following that will be the 2004 Punisher movie, unless you want to watch the 1989 Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren.
But I'd rather watch the Thomas Jane one because it was made in between Elektra and Daredevil, so they're all in the same time period. So they get this is an encapsulated this is what bad superhero movies were made then.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So join us next week for a very special edition.
Well, another very special edition.
An even more special edition.
Would you like to watch the trailer for Elektra?
No.
No, he doesn't need. He needs to be surprised.
Okay, well,
Frankly, year 2222, there is a colony in Mars.
You need to stop. We need to end this podcast now.
Elektra is the queen of the damned.
there's a movie called that.
She is possessing a certain
Not a very
golden
good movie.
Egyptian scarab ring that allows her to control the dead.
Now I want to watch The Mummy.
All right, we're done for this week. Have a wonderful week, and okay, just have a week.
Really? You're going to co-opt an old phrase and just add week to it? That's really lazy. Even for you.
Yeah, have 7 days.
Don't you laugh at your own
I will laugh at my own if I want to.
All right, so long.
Oh my, whoa! Dude, it took me a second. That is so wrong.
I had to process that.
That was a thinker.
This Susie is my son Larry's daughter by his first marriage. She eloped with this semi-colored fella from London. What's the word for that? Mulatto, yeah. Just let's say he had a little cream in his coffee. But he did very well for himself on the internet. But don't ask me how. No, you know, they did get me a computer for Christmas.